Why is it that you keep watching people draw close without even realizing it? From strangers to something familiar to something like love. And yet your own heart stays perfectly still, as if not a single ripple ever formed. It's not that you've never met anyone. It's not that no one has ever liked you or treated you with real sincerity. You're living on the same timeline as everyone else, and yet you always seem half a beat behind. You witness the story unfolding, but somehow you never step inside it. Why is it that when other people talk about attraction, attachment, loss, the pushing and pulling that takes over their whole emotional world, you remain unusually clear-headed? You understand what they're feeling. You can even describe almost precisely how a relationship tends to begin, how it warms and where it often starts to crack. But when it comes to your own life, your heart still doesn't get pulled into it. It doesn't get carried away. You're not cold. You're not numb. It's more like this. Before anything has even happened, you already see too much. And then why, after realizing again and again that you still can't fall, do you start turning the question back on yourself? Am I too slow? Are my standards too high? Is something wrong with me? That I always seem to stand outside of love? If these questions feel familiar, then today isn't about why you don't date. And it's not a lesson on how to be bolder, more passionate, or more easily swept into romance. It's about something far less understood. When someone's heart stays closed for a long time, is it really avoidance? Or is it a deeper form of self-protection? One you may not even realize you've been carrying. Many people assume that someone who has never truly fallen in love must be emotionally distant or simply uninterested in intimacy. But if you're honest with yourself, you know that isn't true. You do feel deeply. You do long for connection. You're just far more careful about where you allow your heart to open. Your heart was never closed. It simply operates with very clear conditions. For you, attraction doesn't come first, with trust slowly catching up later. It works the other way around. Only when safety appears does attraction begin to take shape. In psychology, this isn't unusual. It reflects a relational system that places emotional safety at its core. When someone is naturally sensitive to emotional shifts, relational tension, and subtle changes in other people's moods, their nervous system asks a quiet question first. Is this a place where I could be hurt? Not, is it exciting? Is it romantic? Is there chemistry? But rather, if I truly open myself here, will I be held or will I have to protect myself afterward? So while others can move closer based on feeling alone, you instinctively pause to observe. You notice whether someone is emotionally stable, whether they take responsibility for their own feelings, whether they remain respectful under stress, whether they maintain boundaries even when they don't have the upper hand. These aren't conscious checklists, they're automatic scans. You're not unwilling to love, but once you do, you don't love lightly. You don't try things out. You don't feel comfortable with intimacy that includes an exit plan. Because for you, real love means depth, it means honesty, and it carries real risk. Your system doesn't allow you to pay that cost casually. So you may look slow to others, but that isn't emotional dullness. You may appear cautious, but it isn't avoidance. Your heart has simply been waiting for something stable enough, gentle enough, that opening wouldn't immediately require repair. You are not incapable of love. You just cannot grow in unsafe soil. You don't stay on the edge of relationships because you don't want to be involved. You stay there because you see what most people don't, much earlier. While others are absorbed in the sweetness of attraction, the excitement of new connection, the rising curve of emotion, your attention quietly shifts elsewhere. You notice potential friction, unspoken power imbalances, small misalignments that haven't surfaced yet, but will. This isn't pessimism. It's a forward-looking emotional process. Psychology calls this anticipatory emotional processing. Your mind naturally simulates outcomes before emotions fully take over. So you ask yourself questions like, if I step into this, can I survive the disappointment if it falls apart? Will I still feel whole inside this relationship? Is there room for me to remain myself? This gives you a kind of clarity that others often mistake for detachment. You can name problems while others are still intoxicated by possibility. You can predict conflict before emotions reach their peak. But there's a cost. It's hard to fully immerse yourself when you've already seen where the pain could be. Once your mind registers risk, your body quietly applies the brakes. So it isn't that you never feel attraction, it's that attraction barely appears before awareness steps in. Not suppression, protection. You're not rejecting love. You're refusing to pretend you don't see what you clearly see. That's why you often feel like someone standing on the shore. You understand the waves, you even love the ocean. But you don't jump in without knowing how deep the water goes. For you, love isn't about losing control. It's about choosing closeness after understanding what it asks of you. You've probably heard it more times than you can count. You're too picky. Your standards are unrealistic. You just don't give anyone a chance. But those labels rarely touch the real issue. Because what looks like high standards from the outside often has very little to do with perfection and everything to do with avoidance of pain. When someone loves slowly, loves deeply, and doesn't detach easily once attached, their mind naturally develops a strong filtering system, not out of arrogance, out of self-protection. You're not asking whether someone is flawless. You're asking something far more specific. Will this person cost me myself? In psychology, this pattern is known as a defensive mate selection strategy. On the surface, it looks like high expectations. Underneath, it's a heightened awareness of emotional cost. You're not afraid of relationships failing. You're afraid of the kind of relationship that leaves you fragmented afterward, the kind that takes months or years to rebuild yourself from. So you unconsciously construct conditions that might seem excessive to others. You value stability because chaos drains you. You value emotional maturity because you won't carry someone else's unresolved weight. You value being understood because existing long-term in misinterpretation slowly erodes you. These aren't demands, they're buffers. The problem is that people usually see the result, not the history behind it. They don't see how carefully your heart opens. They don't realize that when it does, it isn't tentative. It's a commitment. So you choose slower. You choose fewer. You choose clarity over possibility. You're not standing outside love. You're standing at the door, making sure that this time you won't need armor to walk inside. There's a quality about you that's rarely described in positive terms. You don't just feel emotions, you observe them as they happen. While others are immersed in attraction, you're already aware of its trajectory, what this closeness might require, where this relationship could tighten, and when it might begin to hurt. Psychology refers to this as high metacognition. You don't only experience emotion, you track your experience of it. As soon as feeling arises, an inner observer quietly steps forward. You ask yourself questions like, is this attraction coming from connection or from loneliness? Is this desire about this person or about not feeling unseen anymore? Am I moving closer because it's right or because I'm tired of waiting? This awareness makes you appear grounded, stable, emotionally mature, but it also makes surrender difficult. Because falling in love requires a certain suspension of analysis. It asks you to tolerate ambiguity, to accept not knowing, to move forward before everything makes sense, and that's where you struggle. Not because you're afraid, but because you see too much. You can feel the sweetness of connection and the weight of its consequences at the same time. So your heart is pulled in two directions, longing for closeness while remaining alert to danger. You don't resist immersion. You simply can't pretend ignorance. When someone consistently perceives risk earlier than others, they lose the ability to love without awareness. And love without awareness is often what people mean when they say, fall. You don't fall. You step carefully, consciously, and only when the ground feels real. Your high standards did protect you. They kept you away from chaotic dynamics, unequal emotional labor, and relationships that demanded constant explanation, compromise, and repair. They saved you from pouring yourself into situations that would have slowly dismantled you. From that perspective, your caution wasn't just reasonable. It was intelligent. But here's the paradox. Any defense that works long enough eventually starts making choices on your behalf. At first, you were simply declining what felt wrong. Later, you may have noticed something subtler. You stopped feeling the impulse to move toward anyone. Not because people weren't kind, not because no one was compatible, but because your inner system quietly promoted safety to the highest priority. After enough emotional strain, disappointment, or long periods of self-repair, the nervous system forms a simple belief. If I don't begin, I can't be hurt. Uncertainty becomes a threat. Risk is filtered out early. And love itself is unconsciously categorized as a high-cost event. This is where the paradox fully emerges. The more you try to guarantee safety, the smaller your emotional world becomes. The more certainty you require, the fewer people are able to reach you. Loneliness doesn't arrive dramatically. It accumulates. You remain stable, functional, self-contained. But over time, something is missing. Not excitement, but the feeling of being genuinely invited into someone else's life. You didn't choose isolation. You chose predictability. And love, by its nature, has never been fully predictable. In a culture that rewards speed, your rhythm looks out of place. People move quickly toward attraction, quickly label connection, quickly commit, and just as quickly disengage. You, meanwhile, often feel like the person standing at the doorway, not unwilling to enter, but unwilling to enter armored. You need time, not because you're indecisive, but because you're listening. You're asking a quiet but essential question. Is this a space where I can soften without disappearing? For you, love is not a rush, it's a gradual alignment. Attraction doesn't precede safety. Safety creates attraction. When your emotions are respected, your body relaxes. When you feel understood, closeness unfolds naturally. This doesn't mean you love lightly. In fact, when you do love, you often love with unusual depth. You don't keep one foot out the door. You don't measure your giving. You don't rely on ambiguity to stay protected. What you offer is rare. Presence without performance, commitment without control, and intimacy that doesn't need urgency to feel real. But this kind of love cannot be rushed. It doesn't survive comparison, pressure, or the fear of falling behind. You are not missing love. You are refusing relationships that would ask you to betray your own pacing. Slow, for you, is not a flaw. It's discernment. You are not avoiding movement. You are waiting until you can move without abandoning yourself. And the love that truly fits you will never require you to override your inner timing. If you've listened this far, there may be a quiet sense of relief settling in. Because maybe for the first time, you're beginning to see that nothing about you is broken. You didn't fail at love. You didn't miss your chance. You didn't fall behind some invisible timeline. You were careful, not because you were afraid of closeness, but because you understood its weight. You didn't refuse connection. You refused to offer the most vulnerable parts of yourself to places that could not hold them. In a world that confuses speed with sincerity and urgency with courage, your way of loving may have seemed invisible, but real courage was always there. In your restraint, in your patience, in your refusal to rush what mattered. You move slowly because once you open fully. You don't give fragments, you give time, presence, attention, and the intention to stay. That kind of heart cannot be rushed, and it should never be forced. You were never waiting for perfection. You were waiting for safety, the kind that allows you to soften without disappearing. You didn't choose the wrong path. You chose the one that didn't ask you to abandon yourself along the way. Some hearts are not meant to be tested repeatedly. They are meant to unfold in environments where they are welcomed, and when love finally meets you there, it won't feel like falling. It will feel like recognition. Quiet, steady, certain. This is Felix. May you continue to understand yourself more deeply and treat the becoming version of you with patience and kindness. See you next time.